Jazzcast Pros.
Hey there, my graceful grinders and totally uniquers. This is your executive coach, Dr. Pamela Brown-Grinion, President and Chief Etiquette Officer of the Totally Unique Institute of Excellence and Totally Unique Educational Consultants, LLC. Well, we are here for another exciting episode of the Grace and Grind podcast. And today we are going to be talking about the ghost in the nursery. Okay, let's go number 2. Pay attention to patterns you swore you'd never repeat. How many people on here didn't like the way their mother or father did something and said, I'm never going to do that? I'm never going to. When I get my kids, I'm not doing that with my kids. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and said, how many times have I looked at myself and said, girl, you acting just like Martha Lee? And I swore to Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, there's just some things I'm not going to do. But I picked up patterns. The first set to addressing your trauma is to know that, right, that you have to acknowledge it, that you do have it. You can't be acting like you don't, nothing is there. It's there. It's there. It's there. And it knocks repeatedly. It's there. Okay. Pay attention to patterns you swore you'd never repeat. Sometimes we recreate what hurt us, not because we want to, but because it's familiar. Why is it familiar? It's because we know it. Because it's in us. It's been in us. It's been with us for as long as we can remember. So remember I said your brain is a muscle. It remembers. Your body remembers. Your soul remembers. Your spirit remembers. Your energy remembers. It's familiar to you. It's become a safe place for you. Even though it's unsafe to be unhealed, it's become a safety net for you because it's easier to hold on to the traumatic experiences than it is to face them, acknowledge them, and then do something about them. That's hard work. I'm not even going to sit on here and pretend like it's easy work. It is not. It's hard work. But it's not bigger than you. And you have to extend yourself grace because you didn't get this way overnight. Remember, I told you 3 decades plus, 30 something years, I carried trauma. And I didn't start really working on it, really, until I was 38 years old. That's a long time. I had trauma way, way, way longer than my healthy years. Emotional health I'm talking about. Okay. This is so critical. Being free from the ghost in your nursery is critical. And we relive these things because they're familiar to us. And the only way we can break that pattern of familiarity is what I told you yesterday. You have to interrupt the negative emotional loops that you play out every single day. Your loops, or if someone else's loop was cast inside of you, doesn't matter. It's still a loop. It's got to go. Okay. If you find yourself, this big right here for me, big, big, big. If you find yourself acting like the people who wounded you, it's a sign that an old ghost is still alive. I'm getting myself together emotionally in this moment because I am being triggered off my own lesson, and I'm healed, but I still have cracks. I still have cracks that need to be filled. Even in my healed space, that touched me. Libby, the good ghosts are called angels in the nursery. Y'all. I'm helping y'all, but I'm helping me at the same time. That touched me. If you find yourself acting like the people who wounded you, it's a sign an old ghost is still active. Why does that hurt me? Why does that make me tear up? Because I've been there. And I think about being hurt emotionally and how it feels, and it does not feel good. but how I've made other people feel. That hurts me because I know what traumatic pain, I know the symptoms and how they feel. And to think that I'm talking about on my own children as a mother, okay? That when the ghost shows up and you aren't aware that it's a ghost and you are responding with your ghostly behavior, impacting your children, causing vicarious and generational trauma. Let me tell you something. As a mother, the last thing I ever wanted to do was hurt my children emotionally or cause any emotional wounds. But I did. And I know I did. I did. Why? Because my ghost in the nursery was showing up in my parenting. The little girl in the unhealed little Pam. Let me go all the way back. The unhealed little Linkadink, which was my nickname, Little Dink, Linkadink. The unhealed little Linkadink was parenting sometimes out of pain and causing pain in the process. Unaware. When I tell you nothing hurts me more as a mother than knowing that my unhealed trauma has impacted my children to the point where they're living out my traumatic experience. This is not made up stuff, y'all. This is for real, for real. And that's why I'm telling you, check yourselves. Because what happens is, just like you have ghosts in your nursery, generational curses. Now, okay, go with me. Your ghost is now living in the next generation because you're unhealed, because I'm unhealed. We pass those ghosts into our children, and then our children pass the ghosts into their children, and that's how we get generational curses. So this is not just come on here and listen. We got to heal the generations. The buck needs to stop here. Yes, Jamise. That's the first. You got to be honest with you. And you have to acknowledge your true inner feelings. You can't be that type of parent where you say, my kid is just jacked up because they didn't listen to what I said. No, your kid is jacked up because you were jacked up when you were parenting your kid. And now your kid is a jacked up parent parenting. That's why your kid jacked up. That's why your grandchildren on the way to being jacked up. And if we don't stop this right now, if we don't stop this foolishness right now, I don't care how many times you have to apologize. I don't care how many times you have to sit down with your children, your nieces and nephews, whomever. Because some people may not have had children, but it does not mean that your ghost did not impact someone else's life. You got to fix that. You got to have that hard conversation. I know that there are some things inside of you that I put that you have to give to me. I had this conversation with my mother, so I'm not telling you something that I did not do. I had this conversation with my mother. That's why I got to talk to you. Don't tell me how to say it. Don't tell me how to feel. I'm raw. I just need you to give me space to say what I have to say because I've been carrying this and it's not mine, it's yours. You have to listen to those conversations. You have to ask your children, what is it that I put there that you need to give back to me? Because it's mine. And you have to care enough and love enough. You can't just be like, get over it. You didn't get over it. Look at you. You in your third or fourth quarter and you're still not over your ghosts. So you can't tell them just get over it. Just like you don't know who's teaching them. They do have to be coachable now. Okay. They do have to be coachable. And you do too. These ghosts in the nursery can be generational. And then vicarious trauma. I'm feeling the trauma because you in the trauma. You ever listen to somebody's traumatic experience and then you feel it and you go home and your emotional stuff is all shifted and or you different and all of that? Why? Because you've experienced someone else's traumatic ghost in the nursery, right? So now you're having vicarious trauma and it can disrupt your whole entire day, right? Okay. So number 2, pay attention to the patterns you swore you never repeat. If you find yourself acting like the people who wounded you, it's a sign that an old ghost is still active. Awareness turns repetition into choice. We talked about this a few days. That is becoming self-aware. You now give yourself choices of how does this impact me? How am I going to respond to it? How much power am I going to give it? How am I going to allow it to show up? Those are your choices because you have the power to choose. I know no one ever told you that. I know nobody ever told you that because nobody ever told me that. I got that straight from upstairs. You have the power to control how it shows up, how you respond to it, how much power you give it, how it impacts you. You do. That came straight from upstairs. That's free nuggets. So when you develop self-aware, it now gives you a choice where once you understand how much power am I really giving this thing? How is this really impacting me? How have I been responding to it? How is it showing up? What's going on? How much power am I giving it? When you can do that, now you can interject that one thing that can put you on a new course. Remember, 1 + 1 is 2. But if I add a 2, take out a 1 and add a 2, I've changed the whole dynamics. So you now have the power of choice of how am I going to allow this ghost to show up in my nursery, in my life. How am I going to allow my ghost from the nursery to show up in my life today? All right. Reflection questions. Write these down. Where did I first learn this behavior? Who taught it to me? Where did this come from? Is it yours? Where did I first learn this behavior? Whose voice or actions am I echoing right now? Is this mine? Or is this my mother's? Whose voice is inside of me doing all of this chatter and all of this stuff internally? Where did I get that from? Whose voice or action am I echoing right now? Who am I mirroring? What did I need back then that I did not get that I can give myself now? That question brings me peace. What did I need back then that I can give myself now? When you give yourself what you need in this moment now because you're reliving something, a ghost in the nursery, and you give yourself what you need now, you bring a certain amount of peace into this traumatic emotional situation. You don't have to look for it. It's already in there. It was a gift given to you. It's already in there. But sometimes we can't tap into any kind of peace because it's so tumultuous internally. But this is telling us that my peace is steadfastly with you. It never leaves us. We leave it. Our experiences, our circumstances, our situations causes us to be blocked from feeling. The peace is not gone. It has not moved away from you. Steadfastly means always. My peace is steadfastly with you. When you keep your focus on me, you experience both my presence and my peace. And that's why I said you have to give your internal compass an alignment, because you find it difficult to tap into your internal power. You find it difficult to hear what God is trying to say to you about how you move past this thing that has been haunting you for years. You can't hear it. And if you can't hear it, you certainly can't feel it. Okay? Sometimes you are tempted to take shortcuts. 5 years, I took a shortcut. Where did I end up? Right back on this royal blue brick road. Okay? In order to reach your goal as quickly as possible. Derailed for 5 years because I didn't listen. But if the shortcut requires turning your back on my peaceful presence, you must choose the longer route. Walk with me along paths of peace. Enjoy the journey in my presence. That was a devotion this morning that I read. It will be so difficult to do this, guys. It's going to be very difficult. You have to, when I tell you it's a must, you have to simmer down. You have to heighten your self-awareness. You have to. You have to. Because you'll be able to weed through better. Weed through what you don't need. You'll be able to listen. You won't be as blocked. So that you can listen really what that little girl and little boy is trying to say to you of what they need in this moment. All right, number 3. Examine the needs you struggle to meet. Might be your needs, might be the needs of others. Why? Because your ghost hides in unmet childhood needs. Remember the questions you just asked yourself? What did I need back then that I didn't give myself that I can give myself now? Because it goes into number 3. Examine the needs you struggle to meet. What are your needs that you struggle to meet internally? I'm talking about so you can address the little girl that still resides on the inside of the adult you. What are the needs that have been unmet? Because now you got to think about, how do I feed the ghost so that I can give up the ghost? Okay. You gotta take care of the ghost in your nursery. You have to. No way around it. One of the worst things that anybody can tell another person that's dealing with trauma is just get over it. Girl, you 59 years old. You still talking about what happened to you when you were 5? You need to get over that. You don't just get over trauma. You don't just change your behavioral responses because you just want to change them. No, you got to do some work. Healing from trauma has to be intentional. It's not something that you're just going to outlive. Well, girl, I just learned how to you didn't. I just learned how to deal with it. You have some protective factors that you're using to ignore it, but you haven't dealt with it. The ghost hides in your unmet childhood needs. So you have to understand, what did you need? What did the little girl or the little boy need that they never got? All right, here's a challenge we're going to do right now in this moment. I want you to think about, when you think about what you didn't get. Okay? For me, I didn't get enough hugs. I'm not going to cry through this. I promise you, I'm going to try real hard. Because when I think about my unmet childhood needs, it hurts me. I mean, it hurts me. I didn't get enough hugs. I didn't get enough I love you. I didn't have a father's protection. I didn't have a mother's attention. I felt, and I told you guys this the other day, I don't feel like this anymore, but this was my truth. I felt like God had abandoned me. Now, let me tell you something. For somebody that grew up, you gonna be a goddaughter if you like it or not. It was painful for me to go to church because I felt like I was abandoned, because I kept asking, why? Why? And you never get the answer. And you a kid and you trying to figure out what is really going on here. And you don't have the language. You don't even understand what you're going through. all you know is something ain't right. This is not supposed to be happening to a little girl. Where you at? But then when I go back in here and I read this and I'm reassured. I'm reassured with this when he says, my peace is steadfastly with you. So this tells me that even though I was going through all of that, he was still there. And that brings me joy. That brings me comfort. But when I was going through it, I did not feel protected. I did not feel that I received the attention, not the right kind of attention. I did not feel security and safety and protection and love and wholeness. And I didn't feel any of that. So I want you to identify what are the symptoms that you're ghost in the nursery, the childhood symptoms that you're still carrying to this day that shows up in your adulthood sometimes because you didn't get them. This is real. It's not for play. This is for real. And if you can't identify them, you can't address them. And you probably can't identify them because you're still concealing them. Why? Because you think it's going to hurt too much to recognize them. I'm telling you, you can't heal what you continue to conceal, and God can't heal what you continue to conceal. Marseille says, especially when you are wounded where you worship, baby, church hurt is some of the worst kind of hurt to experience. When the people in the church are your family, I know I'm not the only one. Okay, so the ghost hides in unmet childhood needs, safety, attention, affection, validation. These are mine. You identify yours because we're all, even though we're on this journey together, we all have our own brick roads that we're on, our own journeys. My brick road is royal blue. What color is yours? You're on yours. Aunt Ruth's on hers. Girlfriend Ruth is on hers. Libby is on hers. Mars is on his. Trina Pink is on hers. Pastor Griffin is on her. We are all on different journeys. Okay, Sosa, Renee, we're all on our own journeys, right? Now, some of our emotional symptoms might be the same because trauma is trauma. It produces the same emotional symptoms, just in different people. Grief may hit me in a much deeper way than it may hit you, but it's still grief. I may have to work through a little bit more than you have to work through, but it's still grief. We're still experiencing the same symptoms, but different measures of it. Either way, we're still working through grief. Okay? Unforgiveness is unforgiveness. It doesn't matter if your husband cheated on you or your uncle touched you inappropriately. It's you still have something in there that you feel like what you did to me was a violation. It's unforgivable, and I'm dealing with this internally now. And it's a ghost in my nursery. You guys understand what I'm saying? It's a ghost in the nursery. It doesn't matter. It's still unforgiveness. We had two different types of of things that we are not forgiving for, but it's still unforgiveness. At the end of the day, it produced the same emotional symptoms. Okay? The traumatic experiences presents the emotional symptoms. The emotional symptoms causes our behavior to be different. It causes our emotional fluency from our internally, our emotional communication. It changes when we have these traumatic experiences living inside of us. Now imagine the little girl inside of you who had the one traumatic experience and never healed. And you're getting older. Okay. And now you have another traumatic experience, and it's compounded on the first traumatic experience. Okay. And you're still living, so you're getting older, and you're still experiencing, because there's always something else coming, right? And then you have another traumatic experience. And the first and the second traumatic experience, you still have those ghosts in the nursery. And now you have this ghost compounded on the other two ghosts. You guys see what I'm saying? And now you're 59. And you got stuff. Some of us have more than 3. I lost count. First, I was doing this 1, 2. I ran out of fingers and toes. For real, for real. And you get older. And now you have all of these things, all of these ghosts living inside the little girl and the little boy in you. And you're expected, because now you're older. And you're supposed to behave differently now that you're older. Mature. Put away those childish things. How? How can you expect me? I was having this conversation with some older women, seasoned women, I'll say, on Saturday. And they were asking me, what do I do? And I was telling them. And one of the ladies said, when you in the workplace, ain't no room for that. When you an executive, I said, it may not be room for it, but you in the room with it. The office may not make room for it. But let me tell you, you've walked across the threshold with your suitcase, your packed luggage, your emotional baggage, and it walked across that threshold with you right along with your briefcase. So it's in the room if you make space for it or not. My job is to come in the room. Your job is to get me in the room. And I come in the room and I identify the emotional luggage, and then we start to unpack. As an executive, that's running companies, that's telling other people what to do. If the leader is jacked up, anyway, I digressed. I'm going to get right back to this. Okay. You guys see where I'm going with that. Okay. When those needs weren't met, adults often overcompensate or shut down. How did I overcompensate? Baby, I made it as glamorous as I could. When I tell y'all, I was a showstopper at my young age, honey. Let me tell you, I'm a showstopper now. What I'm talking about? Shoot, I'm still a showstopper, but it's authentic. It's healed. Okay. But I had a facade and a mask that was so beautiful. Baby, let me tell you, I knew how to dress this thing up. I did. I wanted to be certain that when you looked at me, all you could see was pulled up. Oh, she is pulled together. Honey, she is. I overcompensated externally because of what was happening internally. Okay, I overcompensated, but that was in public. When I got home and there were no cheerleaders, there were no compliments, there were no rah-rah, let's go, Pam. There was none of that. I shut down and I went right back into that rabbit hole. What's in the rabbit hole? Fear, unforgiveness, shame, embarrassment, guilt, hatred, all the things in the rabbit hole. Why? Because that was my comfortable place. I knew how to do trauma. I knew how to slide right back into that. But whenever I needed to be public, and I did a lot of training, I helped a lot of people, and I was jacked up. I was helping people, but I was jacked up because it wasn't authentic. It hadn't become authentic yet. It was my gift. I knew how to do it. God gave it to me. I knew how to do it, but it was researched. Now what I'm telling you, my lived experiences of how I got over, how I made it over, my lived experiences. My curriculum is my lived experiences. Big difference, big difference, big difference. This is why people are not being healed. Nothing worse than working with unhealed social services employees. I don't care what kind of employee it is, cousin. My nana used to say, never been there, can't tell going there how to get there. Never been there, can't tell going there how to get there. How you gonna tell me? Because you read this. I don't care how many licenses you have. I had a lady that I work with. She was my therapist because I believe in counseling. Okay, I believe in counseling and coaching and Jesus, combined them. Okay, my counselor, therapist, she didn't have my lived experience. And so I'm talking to her. She had no reference point, and I'm not saying she couldn't help me, but it wasn't effective for me. And she wasn't willing to be vulnerable. And I know they tell you to keep it out, keep your emotions out, but you want to really help somebody. I got to let you know I'm with you in this. Baby, I understand. And when I stand in front of my students, that's what I tell them. I understand, because I'm not teaching when my students come into the classroom. I'm not teaching them how to get a degree. I'm not teaching them how to get a certification. It ties in. It's way bigger than that for me. I'm teaching you how to change your life, because I don't know if you're ever going to run across another Dr. Pam who's going to be able or willing to give you the information, because sometimes people elevate and get pulled up and they forgot that they were once on the ground floor because now they're in the penthouse. They've forgotten. And if they send the elevator down, they send the elevator down, and then you got to get on the elevator by yourself and navigate all these levels. I don't do that. If I'm still in the elevator down, I'm on the elevator. And when the elevator stops, I'm putting my hand out like this. And I'm asking you for your hand, and I'm bringing you onto the elevator with me. And then I'm going to show you how to do this ascension. Right? So when those needs weren't met, adults often overcompensate or shut down. All right. The third point is naming the unmet needs reveals the ghost's shape. Let me say that again. Naming the unmet needs. What did you need? What was missing? Safety, attention, affection, validation. When you name those, it reveals the shape of the ghost. Not physical shape, like what condition is your ghost really in? How much attention do you really need to pay to your ghost? Right? When you are able to name the unmet needs, it tells you really what you really need now as an adult, when you can identify what you didn't get as a child. And because the child keeps showing up. Because she's in there, he's in there. They're going to continue to show up. But once you're able to identify what they went lacking, now you have a reference point of what cracks you need to fill in you so that you can make your ghost whole. Okay? Because the whole point of ghosts in the nursery is we want to give up the ghosts. We don't want the ghosts in the nursery. You're not in a nursery anymore. You're in an office. You're in a cubicle. You're in a suite, the C-suite. And the ghost is in there too. You understand that, right? You do understand that. You're no longer in the nursery. Why are you allowing the ghosts to reside and preside? Why are you giving the ghost so much power? And it goes right back to, because you don't know how to not. This is what you've been doing all your life. Nobody ever told me this. My 6-year-old granddaughter, Cassidy, that's my baby girl, right? Cassidy and I have these types of conversations. I say to Cassidy, every time she comes to my house, I say, Cassidy, did anybody touch you there? Did anybody touch you there? Did anybody touch you there? Did anybody ask you to touch them in any of those places? Did anybody ask you to put your mouth anywhere in any of those places? Because we don't ask. And sometimes people don't. I'm saying for me, you don't know that you can tell somebody. You embarrassed to tell somebody. You don't want nobody to know. You don't want to talk about that. So I bring it up and I ask her, Cassidy, did anybody Nope. And if somebody does, what you gonna do? I'm gonna tell my grandma. You sure enough are. That's what you gonna do. Because I want to make sure I'm having those check-ins with her. But I also tell her, because she gets very heightened. Why? Because she is living out the generational trauma. Okay. And so it's my job to make sure that she understands that she has the power to control how her parents' trauma may be showing up in her life, how much power she gives it, how she responds to it, and how it impacts her at 6. Because I'll be doggone. At 6, you have the power to control. Can you imagine if somebody told you, when you think about your first traumatic experience, TikTok family, can you imagine if someone would have told you at the onset of trauma that you have the power? I know you've gone through this. I know this has happened. We can't remove it from your life, but let's talk about how to move forward with dealing with it so it doesn't rob you of your life. Because the last thing you want to do is have someone growing up with Python syndrome, where they're feeling, that's from Dr. Pam, so cite your source if you use it, okay? When you feel like life is life and so hard that it's choking the very life out of you, right? When you there, we gotta have those conversations now. Can you imagine? Renee said, I need to be better in mom, homeschooling teacher, and Sunday school teacher. She's not. Yes, baby. Yes. We have to be better. We cannot allow these generational curses, and we can't act like they're not there because we haven't dealt with ours. You have to do it for the baby's sake. You have to get healed for the baby's sake, for your grandchildren's sake. You have to. I have to. I have to be free for my legacy, my lineage. I have to be free, and I have to teach emotional freedom. I'm not going to allow her to grow up with these heightened emotions, and her response is punch. And so we had to have a whole conversation around, you, just because you're angry does not mean that you get to violate somebody else's body. What do you need to do? And she can tell you. But in the moment, talking about it, but executing it, 2 different things. So we're trying to align the knowledge with the action so that she can change her behavioral responses to her generational trauma that doesn't even belong to her. It belongs to me. It belonged to my mother. It belonged to my grandmother. You guys understand what I'm saying? But somewhere the buck has to stop, right? And we can take this all the way back and say we're breaking generational curses all the way back to Adam and Eve. Yeah, we're denouncing generational curses all the way back to Adam and Eve. That's how far back I denounce them. Now, how does it show up? When you examine in the needs you struggle to meet, difficulty asking for help or accepting. You don't want to accept. I'll give and give and give and give and give. I'll give and give, but I used to have a very big problem with receiving, or even as something as simple as a compliment. If somebody say, "Oh, girl, your makeup look nice." "Oh yeah, oh see, I got this from." Just say thank you. "Yeah, this lipstick came from." Just say thank you. They don't care about that. They just saying your makeup look nice. Oh yeah, I got such and such and so did my hair, and she only. They don't care about all that. Just say thank you. I had difficulty receiving compliments. Okay. Couldn't receive compliments, and I was not asking for help. You can come and ask me for help all day long, and I will show up for you. But I will
I'm not like that anymore. If I need help, I ask for help. If someone gives me a compliment, I say, thank you so much, sis. Thank you. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you. Right? How does it show up? Over giving to others, but neglecting yourself. This is why I'm here, because my girlfriend challenged me and she said, you have a fear of commitment. And I said, no, I don't. Internally, I was having all this. No, I don't. I show up for this, for this. I'm not saying you have a commitment. My best friend Roz told me that. You have a fear of commitment to you. You show up for everybody else. You know you're supposed to be on live. You know you're supposed to be on social media. You know you're supposed to been doing that. You know you're supposed to be on there a long time ago. But it's your fear of commitment to you. I was like, oh, y'all, I was so, when I tell you I was PO'd, honey, I had a tight lip. I was steaming, seething on the inside. Emotional maturity, emotional regulation, emotional etiquette, emotional responsibility, emotional authority, emotional clarity. All that had to set in the split second like that. Because that could have went way left. Because I heard truth. So I said, now what you going to do? Renee said, this hits home. I'm so glad. Now what you going to do? Now that you have this revelation about you, now what you going to do? Now that you've admitted to yourself that this person loves you, they know you, and they just told you the truth about you, what are you going to do with it, coach? What would you tell your client and your students? Remember, I'm my first client and I'm my first student. So I said, I'm going on live tomorrow. I'm showing up for me, right? Overgiving to others, but neglecting yourself. My peace of mind matters. Now, feeling unworthy of care, rest, or compassion. See, I just said self-care. I have to have that. I have to have that. I have to have balance. I have to create boundaries. Even though I love being here and I love doing this and it doesn't feel like work, I can do this all day. That's why I'm saying share. Tell somebody, because we got a lot of unhealed sisters and brothers out there that need this. Free. Who don't have $25,000 to join a group coaching program. It's free. Don't be selfish. Don't be stingy with it. We know a lot of people in our families that need to be on here. Getting free coaching. Selfless coaching. The show enough truth coaching, okay? All right, folks, that's all we have time for. I thank you so much for joining the Grace and Grind podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Brown-Grinion, and until next time, I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. I love you with my whole heart. And you know what I'm going to say after that? 2 things. That you have the power to control how your trauma shows up in your life, how much power you give it, how it impacts you, and how you respond to it. All right? So I want you to make that declaration with yourself today. Put that in the first person, that I have the power to control. And with that being said, I want you guys to go and create your totally unique day on purpose. Okay? Ta-ta for now.